Yeah, absolutely. It's so much more effective. Good
cheaper than
afternoon,
a
good morning,
drone
good evening,
to
wherever
you.
you might be in the world. We are here, and we were just talking about something that Ian discovered this week that was just fantastic. And I must greet Randall Warnas of Anzu Robotics. And if you haven't heard about Anzu Robotics and haven't caught up with who Randall is, then you've been living under a rock, my friend, living under a rock. He took his. I don't suppose you have to have your green machine with you there. I should have said.
You want me to get one? Is that like I can?
Well,
I can,
just no. It would have. This would have. Yeah.
20
Ian's
seconds.
saying,
Give me
shaking
20
head.
seconds.
He said
I'll
yes.
grab one.
Good.
Right,
what
now we
should
can say
say
things
while
about
he's
him. He's
out?
not in the room.
Yeah. What can we say now? He's not. Yeah. Exactly.
No, well, I can go and grab some while he's grabbing some.
It's the sneeze drone.
Yeah,
He's trying.
it's the booger.
Later on.
Oh, you
look,
bought
Ian's
your
showing off
toys,
his
and he's got
LiDAR.
his toys. I haven't got anything to show and tell. I haven't got anything.
Well, last time I showed you one, I don't believe it was a production unit. This is the production
No.
unit with stickers on it, but this is the Raptor non-thermal. You built that?
Your dangerous drone. Look what I got attached to that. That'll scare the Karens.
Yeah.
TNT battery pack. Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's beautiful. Why green? I mean, it's a lovely green, but why?
It's so I don't mind the green, and I think in person it's very different than like the initial pictures. I think I've said this before, but why green? First of all, nothing else is green that's in the
except grass where it lands. If you lose track of
it, and when it was time to select plastic molding, it wasn't like you go to the hardware store and you have all the swatches. You had a color. You had red. You had orange. You had yellow. You had green. And so looking at the panel of colors, green was selected based off of, wanted something that would have its own identity, its own thing. But the green that showed up, it was a little surprising and shocking to see actually on a product. It's kind of like, looking at a paint swatch and then actually painting it on your wall. But I mean, as a company, it's just, we leaned into it. It's part of the identity. It was part of the teasing of this company going into it. It's unique. And I think once people put it up in the air and get a sense of what it is, I think a lot of the concerns go away. Like you're saying, flying in tree lines and stuff like that. I haven't personally had issues, but it's also been early springtime in Salt Lake City, so we don't have a lot of leaves on the trees now it's changed recently, but we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the story behind green. Nothing too scientific about it.
And it's not just environmentally friendly.
Just environmentally friendly, exactly. Julian in the comments mentioned, well, there it is. And how did Exponential go? And that has to be really the question, doesn't it? Walking around with that, it must have caused a stir. And yeah, so maybe you can just tell us how that went. How was Exponential for you?
I'll first say that Exponential is always a great family reunion of people trying to solve these problems with aerial robotics. And, it has changed from a very heavily military show to a very heavily commercial show. And this year, I think they did a really good job at splitting both. I feel like the venue was quite large and it allowed more space. And so it didn't feel as crowded, but I still think that the engagement was quite high. We had Anzu drones in a few booths, just partners, people that are either reselling or a Lofts booth so that people could get their hands on it. And I was walking around with one as well. And it was an early morning one day. Someone said, "Do you have one?" And I said, "Oh yeah." I pulled it out of my backpack, and no joke, it was like a wall of 40 people being like, "Oh, it's that green drone." And like, so to the green point, it definitely is recognizable. It stands out. But yeah, the response thus far has been wildly beyond what I expected in a very positive way. And Exponential was just an opportunity to engage with the community, hear the things that they're thinking about, take on more of the questions so that we can know how to best answer them and show the things that we're doing so that it makes sense for the whole industry. But in those environments, you just expect to have critical eyes that have been around this space for a long time. It's not a new drone service provider. It's not a law enforcement agency that's been, trying to prop up their drone programs. It's the industry folks, and even ran into your guy Patrick Egan a few times. It's been a while since I've seen him last, but everyone has been so supportive of the concept, and we're ready to get drones in people's hands as early as next week. So hopefully that will be the next phase that will show the promising capabilities of what we're doing.
MTV saying my Mavic 3E gets a firmware update about once a month. So maybe that just leads you nicely into firmware, and that follows up with lot of specific GJ code release. So there's his questioning really.
So the one about the code I didn't fully grasp. It's not that it wasn't up long enough. I think it may be the wording for code. I don't know what.
I could probably add to that because that's got me thinking as well. Actually, yeah. So people will be wondering if the code you've got off DJI, they passed it across and then it's stuck at that. But I don't think it is. I think you said you could update it. So I guess the question is, do you actually have the source code? Because obviously, if you've got a binary, you can't update that. So you must have got some source code which you could compile and change to be able to update it and have it do new things.
Sorry, I was reading Chris Fink's thing as well, but so source code means everything. No, we do not have source code. Source code would be like, not only did they give us the crown jewels, but they actually gave us the company, and now we can just go and build our own things using those flight parameters. But we are able to do modifications to the flight capabilities, as well as obviously the data collection and the app itself. So no, I would say no, we don't have the ability to go to the IMU level and the ESC level and make adjustments. I don't think that.
I don't really think as far as that, but maybe the flight controller, if you've got the code for that, so that if, for example, you wanted to add your own flight mode, can you do that? Or do you just have the parameter access where maybe you can tune a lot of the DJI?
I'm understanding the question, and probably not the right person to say what's all in our capabilities of redoing code. I would assume when you're saying like a different flight mode, if there was something between normal capture and sport, and you wanted to kind of rein it in but have ability to yaw quicker or whatever, I think that we do have that ability. I'm saying I think so. Don't sign me up for that. I can respond in a more formal way once I know absolutely. But that kind of also goes to the firmware update thing, which is we, Anzu Robotics, maintain control of the firmware and what gets pushed out. So even if there's new feature set for a Mavic 3 Enterprise or a Mavic 3 Thermal, and if it's really, really awesome updates, then we would then say, okay, give us that code. We go through and do the same process of wrapping it up and then do penetration test on it and then release it, which it would have to be pretty impressive updates for us to do that. I think a product, that it's based off of being 2 years old, we're not going to see a lot of safety, like precautionary updates. It'll mostly be either upgraded features and things like that. So everything is going to have a lot of scrutiny as to what we firmware update, but we'll do app updates regularly, and that will be done through the App Store rather than pushed out.
And then I see Recovery Drone saying that one of the updates recently is an update for RID. It comes with the RID, I believe, your machine.
Correct. Yeah, remote ID compliant out the box, day one.
Yeah, I guess that's something you just have to do now over there. So
is the USA a major market? Is you looking at selling outside the USA?
So USA is where we are, I won't say trialing because it is the major place of concern for us, but I would say that the international markets, more and more, we're seeing the same kind of conversation about country of origin. So the US and Canada are going to be where the initial phase of this is going to go. How long that phase lasts probably is going to be relative to how the number of units we need to supply this market, and rather than fork it off, because then we need to set up different service centers and things like that wherever whatever regions we participate in. Anzu Robotics the dream is definitely not to be US centric, but it probably will be for some months.
So your license allows you to sell out anywhere in the world?
The license allows us to sell into numerated countries. I think it's in the number of 20s of countries that we can do this. So it's not every country, but I think it's the ones that you would assume a U.S. company would want to sell into.
I can't remember if I said this last week or not, and I probably didn't. Or the week before, as it was, because I wasn't here last week, was I?
Yeah.
How time flies. But what would have been really cool, and I'm sure it would be technically possible, but would have been able to, if your drone was able to be flashed with ArduPilot, because then you would smash all the issues around people's concerns, because you could then say, well, we've rid it of anything that was DJI, the whole code, other than obviously any transmission.
I don't think you could though,
which is buried away, but then you would have it all open.
No, because there's microcode in a lot of those silicon that won't be reflashed. And
no,
so you've got no control over that.
I mean,
you couldn't
really,
give them that ironclad guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, even having the flight controller and the gimbal and all that. I mean, some people would even buy it just for that. I'm quite sure.
Yeah, so
it's an idea for future.
They're going to buy it anyway.
Right. My response to that is that what we've done already, which took some time and some doing, and it could have taken longer and we could have done more things, is that we know we're addressing something important to some number of folks. And those that would rather it be flashed with ArduPilot and to build on this kind of open source environment, is that number larger than what we've already done? Possibly. But when you flash it with ArduPilot, are you going to have the same flight performance, the same capabilities? You have to redevelop a lot of things.
You could do a little bit more, because DJI doesn't put everything in its drones, and that actually is quite annoying at times, because it will deliberately leave features out so you buy the next one up and so on, and you're kind of constrained. Because I mean, all ArduPilot does is has a code there, and then you've got all the parameters, and then you can tweak those to choose how you're going to operate it. And you can even do you can even write your own kind of scripting language in it to make your own flight modes and stuff. So there would definitely be, if it was ever possible, it would definitely be a cool thing to add. I think it would definitely open up more markets, and I think it would give that in itself would create some interest for it, because you'll get other freedoms from it, because obviously you've got the whole freedom of setting it up how you want it and for the capabilities that you want. And the main thing ArduPilot's always had a weakness from, and it's something I love to wind up Philip Rouse about, is it's the gimbal. And DJI do that so well, and it'd just be great. What I was thinking was, I don't know if the license would even allow you to do it, but if it did, it'd be the kind of thing, if this got momentum and you want to build up for the future, actually employ an ArduPilot developer, get him on board, and actually have him doing the code. That'd be just absolutely incredible to see. So I'm just throwing it out there as an idea.
Yeah, and hopefully it's okay that I take it as an idea and not an expectation of an immediate turnaround, because that's beyond my brain's comprehension. But yeah, it's
here's Kevin.
Here's my boy Kevin.
Someone's triggered him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any of that sounds great. I probably should do that, but I don't know how to do that, and maybe that could be done. I
use lots of slashes.
Yeah,
there is lots of slashes in that message.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff. We can probably look at that replay that later. But yeah, Kevin certainly has some security concerns still, and maybe they'll be appearing in the comments shortly. So we shall see. But I suppose, yeah, you're right. Your target audience is a company X who surveys stuff, and it already has 50 of these things, and it just wants to swap them out. Boom, done. Doesn't really care about ArduPilot, doesn't really care about tweaking, just wants to crack on with the job that it has been doing. And hopefully this will enable it. Should was it the American Drone? I can't remember what it is, the American Drone Act or whatever it is, if that goes through. And it's interesting that a LinkedIn user said making people aware of the issues. yet again, I am staggered that people coming out of the woodwork saying, "This, how can this be? How can this suddenly have happened? I've just bought a drone and look what's happening." I'm
Exactly. It's
staggered
not
that
like those drones run TikTok, is it?
No, exactly. But people, they must have. Again, I'll use the term again. They must be living under a rock if they hadn't heard that this was coming or it was being talked about. I'm very, very surprised. And to me, I'm going to get off this high horse very shortly. But to me, it strikes me that people need to start paying attention to what's going on. If they believe that they're in an industry that they're going to have a future and make money with, and it's going to expand beyond all belief, they better keep up with not just saying that to their news website, but because it's beholden to their business to keep up with what's going on.
And where can they stay in touch with events in this industry, Gary? Do you have any recommended sources of information?
Yeah, I know. I didn't say it for that reason. It was just.
This is the sponsor segment, by the way.
That's right. That's right. It's nuts that people aren't keeping up with it. The next one that's coming America's way is Part 108, and people aren't paying any attention to that at all either. The BV lots thing. I don't know where you're at with RID and things in New Zealand and the UK now, but that's going to rear its ugly
But does
head.
anybody follow the rules anymore? I don't know that they do, actually. I think the rules have become kind of secondary advisory. And look, I know a huge level of non-compliance with remote ID by both manufacturers and end users, and not one single case has been brought by the FAA. They're too busy trying to sort out air traffic control.
Well, look at this fellow that they've just grounded by. We're moving off topic here, aren't we? They've just grounded by telling him he can't. Well, the FAA haven't done it, has it? The court's done it instead of facing.
That's an unreasonable infringement of his rights. He's not allowed to own a drone. He's not allowed to fly a drone, even indoors. You can't do that. That's an overstep. That breaches the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for a start by saying you cannot engage in a leisure pastime. You can't do that. They've overstepped their authority, and I think this is a great opportunity for the community to push back, but I doubt they will.
Again, it's keeping up, and it's So, did you? I mean, there must have been lots of DJI drones on Blue's AUVSI, Randall. Did you put yours towards them in a form of Mortal Kombat? Was there scowling and growling from established DJI dealers, or are they all on board with you?
Oh, I don't think that there's really any animosity towards this idea between. It's just another option. I think that there's likely going to be some organizations that are going to see this as threatening, but I think that, like I defined what we're trying to do, and I have this new value ladder concept. Here is where somebody down here says, I can't buy Chinese drones. And up here are drones that have been certified by the Department of Defense through Blue UAS, for instance. That's a huge gap that exists between not Chinese and needs to be, go through the process of Blue or the process of Green and the NDA compliance. I just live in this space. And if you can tell me, especially a non-thermal commercial drone that lives in this space, other than maybe the Anafi AI, which is also a Chinese-built product, not a Chinese-owned company, but a Chinese-built product. If you could tell me another drone that doesn't do thermal that lives in here for the price point that I'm talking about, there isn't one. Then, if we talk about thermal drones, we're still talking about a higher up on the value ladder. There's a lot of flavors and a lot of options. But for a non-Chinese drone that can get you in the price point that we're at with with thermal capabilities and the best flight stack for any mass-produced drone on the planet, I think that's the world I'm living in. I don't think that it's a matter of scowling and growling. I think it's really just supporting those that are already have established programs that are either going to have to shrink those programs down, find budget for an astronomical lift to replace what they already have. I think that the concept makes sense, and probably my biggest critique of the drone world is that when someone says I don't understand the play of Anzu Robotics, I don't understand why Anzu exists. It's like the reason we exist is the clearest part of it all. If you don't necessarily like the color, the name, me, all that stuff is fair game. But why we exist is because legislation has gotten to the point of nonsense and is no longer rooted in reality. There's a lot of fear mongering stuff going on, and even if you do want to steer away from Chinese manufactured drones for the purpose of data security, it's not that hard to do that now. And I think that story should be clear.
And there's one from the Innkeeper, Merrick through Thermal and ATAC. Is it completely compatible with all that?
So as of right now, no. What it's compatible with is everything that comes in the box, and that's about it. But I think that expansion beyond is going to be quite easy because it's quite familiar as far as the SDK programming that we have capable with our products. But out of the gate, 13 days in as a company, ATAC is not yet. There's just been no way to get that to be compatible. But I would say the future is probably likely we would make that happen.
No, that's good. And good evening to Louis. And I suppose whilst we've gone on to that, it's similarly mapping function. Is that in the app yet?
So no, it's still looking like June, middle of June, that there will be an app update that will bring on all of those mapping capabilities. From anyone that saw the drone at Exponential, the only thing that was not there that will be there as of next week when everything ships out is like thermal palette changes, isotherms. A lot of the thermal capabilities just weren't yet on the app. But then the next anticipated update is going to be exactly what you said, the advanced mapping features. And then a large third-party photogrammetry company that we haven't announced yet is developing on it. And hopefully around the same time frame, we'll have their app whitelisted onto our controller so that you could use their free app that does all sorts of different mission sets. And then you could process, with their paid version as well. And that will really tell us what we need to know about PSDK development, how different it is between DJI's SDK development and developing on ours.
So you're speaking about a French company, perhaps?
Who's French?
Pix4D.
Oh, no, they're Swiss, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not.
French,
And then, all right, keep going. We'll mark them off on the list. That's very good.
I would say that I will answer the question by saying it's not Pix4D, and so you could assume the rest. If you ask me another one, I'll just plead the fifth, but it's not Pix4D.
Okay.
I don't know how long to deploy it. When are you deploying it in your drones? When are
it might deploy sometime in June.
You're in your drone deploys. When are you deploying it?
Yeah, just sometime in June.
Okay.
It could be as late as July though, but I'm trying to give some sort of anticipatory framework, but don't.
Well, obviously, as Louis is sort of alluding to, that a lot of companies' workflow is Pix4D or drone deploy, and that's what they use.
No,
exactly.
If you are not putting the drone outside of US, you have to focus on US-based companies.
I guess. If Pix4D were the company that would have said we want to do this and we would have started that process earlier, maybe. But Pix4D is changed a lot in the US, especially where Chris Cressy used to be the general manager here. He's not there anymore. I still know some of the folks, but honestly, Pix4D is not. I'm not in the position to say that they aren't making the same impact as they used to, but I hear from them much less today than I did a year ago. And that's not a knock on them. It's just if they can turn that switch back on and find a way to re-engage, then that could be a possibility. But I hear so little from them these days.
But Randall, end of the day, what matters is how open is your SDK. Are you going to allow software to run inside the drone like Parrot did a few years ago, that you could have your own code running on the drone, except instead of running on a remote? How open are you going to be?
How open are we going to is talking future tense and future tense indefinitely. I would hope that we transform as a company into one that has more ability to craft the entire vision of what our drone technology is. what our drone technology is today is just what was licensed, and we built some things around it. But if you can take a Mavic 3 Thermal or Mavic 3 Enterprise and do something with it on the SDK, I'll say that it's likely that we would be that open. But if you're saying, is it going to be transformational in product one in the way that we are open in development? It's no, we're not modifying the SDK to the point that we're allowing different functionality. I think we're trying to make it so that the ecosystem that already exists to support drone users, that they can still use that ecosystem. That's the ultimate goal in phase one. I guess maybe we're at phase 2 already of Anzu Robotics after launch, but that's the objective.
No, that's an important question, because you might not know, but for instance, Ardo Pilot allows small script-like routines to run, developed to run inside the drone itself. So you just start small programs that run on the drone, so you don't need to have the application running on the remote. The application runs entirely on the drone. And that is the most viable thing if you want to have a good and solid a commercial exploit. So you have set it and forget it on the drone. No need to have constant C2 connection.
Input. Yeah. So you mentioned that Parrot did something like this a few years ago. Did they stop? And the second question, a follow up to that, is who is doing it in a meaningful way, in a large scale way now, where you have that same control?
Not any of the big, not Hotel, DJI, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Parrot did it, but with a drone that did not succeed on the market. So, but there is currently, as you know, enterprise users are limited to either plug in something on the drone and have an external computer doing things on the drone, or they are reliant on applications that run on the remote and do the constant C2 link to operate. So those are the things. So no smarts running on the drone itself.
So one of my favorite things that happened in Exponential is I was talking to someone that's quite prominent in the drone space, and we were having a private conversation in a corner upstairs away from everybody. And I see this yellow banana colored shirt moving across the room, and I'm like, oh no, don't interrupt this conversation. And here he comes. And I turn to him. I'm like, hi. And he goes, Randall, I just want to say to you, you're the most innovative person in this room. Now, it made me beam, but I want to be clear. I am not the most innovative person in the drone space or anywhere near it. I'm not even the millionth most innovative person. So what you're talking about is highly innovative if no one else is doing it. It could be a thing that fills this huge void that we as drone manufacturers don't see, don't know about, or it's extremely challenging to do, or it voids warranties because now people are changing all the parameters within it and you can't really control that. There's headaches, I'm sure, in what you're saying, and Ian brought it up earlier. It's not, I won't say that that's the most straightforward thing, especially from someone that doesn't know much about that at all. But in the realm of innovation, we are innovative in a sense that we took a very difficult problem to solve and hopefully solved it, or at least solved it for a period of time. What comes next? What is Anzu Robotics 2.0 with different products that we actually can like see it coming down the track and do the changes that we need to do? Could be entirely different.
Can it be Anzu Robotics 1.1 instead of 2.0? That would make it much easier.
It could be, but you know, as at this point, this kind of feedback is really helpful, but it's helpful in a sense of likely future iterations. I mean, if the question is, and it's been brought up twice, putting Ardu Pilot on an Anzu Robotics drone, for instance, if somebody can say, yeah, I could do that, I can do that. All I need is access to this piece of code.
Don't ask what you cannot. You're not sure to deliver, because
He's in the comments.
I'm-
He's in the comments. The man that can do it.
Well, I'm not joking, and it's not about delivering. It's not about a fear of being able to deliver. If I know what we need to do, then I can find out if it can be done and if it can be done at scale. What I can't do is say, "Oh, ArduPilot sounds great. Let's do it next week," or I can't say it will ever happen because I don't know how involved that is. If there is a business reason to do something, that's step one. Then is there a capability of doing it with keeping our partnership alive with the whole way we got here in the first place? And does it affect other aspects of being a drone manufacturer? Like I said, warranty, ensuring the safety and compliance of our drones at all times. Like if it falls out of that, that's why then it becomes a custom build type thing where no one is doing mass production of something like that.
It's also a matter, Randall, how far in the flight stack that runs on the drone are you able to go? That's one of the important things, because if we know exactly what components run, how to access them, no hidden secrets on certain components that you cannot allow for licensing reasons, or others you cannot go to them. So that's a problem that you have to face. To have other flight stacks, because if your agreement requires the flight stack to be closed, so there's a core functionality that is closed, putting other flight stacks, it's a no-go. But that's why I was asking. Keeping the flight stack closed, would the extent of what can be made to run still on the flight stack, but as external routines, be able to do it? Yes or no? That's if it falls within your constraints of your licensing. Because I understand you've licensed something, but you have to keep a certain core.
So it's the first time I've addressed this question, and to know what is possible or isn't possible, I know that we're not given all source code. I mentioned this already before you joined. So if we don't have all source code, there is some limitation of what I can access, what I can modify, and what I can keep for myself or use for myself. So then the question is, what is the piece within the source code or within the depths that we don't already have access that we need access to? So then it's like, can we just get this piece to do this type of function? I can go back and ask that question. But saying I want everything, I doubt. My number one focus right now, beyond just launching a company 13 days ago, is to make sure that this product that we just launched solves a problem for someone, some number of folks. And I think that thus far, the trajectory that we have and the adoption that we're seeing and the interest we're seeing isn't necessarily heavily weighted on this, but on the question about modifying beyond what we've already been able to do. But if that is going to either A, preclude a number of users from using our technology because they can't unless we do these sorts of modifications, that would make us be a logical thing to pursue. Or if we start seeing a lack of adoption because we don't have this capability. The next layer to that is innovation. Can we be the first to market to do something? Obviously, Parrot did it. I saw Kevin saying that the 3DR Solo did it. So when I say the first to it, I don't mean the actual first. But if we embrace that concept and run with it, and it's part of our identity, it could be incredible. And it could be that we're a market leader in our own right because we do something like that. It's a world I don't even know any. I literally been in 10 years. I know what ArduPilot is, but I don't do it.
Can I jump in with another suggestion?
Yeah, please.
And I have to admit, this is purely for comedy, but it's one that, I want to throw some seeds out, plant some seeds. So if you're very, very successful, and I hope you are, and say in a year's time, whenever you're rolling in the money, you're thinking, what do I do next? Please, please, please employ Colin Gwynn. I want to see him there with a drone and doing the YouTube videos and getting out his magnet and hitting the compass and all that stuff.
If I hit up Colin Gwynn, the next time I hit up Colin Gwynn, it's going to be for his gel blaster business, because I don't know if you follow that thing. I was telling Kevin about this recently, but like I have very young kids. They're not wanting to shoot. I don't even know what you call them, but the jelly pellet type things. But I do. I want, and
Yeah,
so when
but
I was
you
exposed
do,
to them recently, I was like, I know, like, not the guy, but a guy that's in a very impactful place in this. I should reach out to him. But as far as me employing Colin Gwynn, I think that ship has sailed a number of times, drone related.
But,
So we're talking about weaponizing drones now, are we?
I am not, but I don't know if you guys saw that yesterday, but that blew my freaking mind, if you know what I'm referring to. I don't think I'll say it myself.
The auto one that's popped up.
No, a company well known in the drone space. Like the guy who posted this is a good friend of mine, and it's no shade, no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade. I wanted to say that at least one time while I'm on something like this, so I said it. Okay, anyway,
good.
I'm not being shady. But when he posted on LinkedIn, we are now weaponizing drones, and he's the CTO of a very well-known drone company, I went, what in the world?
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay, yes. I know what you mean now. Yes.
I'm living in. Yeah, so I guess that's one way to do it, to define your identity, is you just come out and say it, which is cool, I guess. It's probably harmful for some of us and good for others.
But it's the Me Too movement for catching up with Ukraine, isn't it? It's we need some Ukraine money. Quick, we better do something. And it's not necessarily going to work. It doesn't, just because you say you're doing it doesn't mean you're going to come out with a great product that's useful and what people actually
You don't have to have a great product if it's military. You just have to have a product and someone there to organise the boozy lunches with the people of influence.
I think that's changing. I really think that's changing. I'm beginning to see a grassroots sort of uprising in the ranks of people building stuff in the military, and I think
I'm talking to NATO about my new
shake-up.
bomb detector.
My
new NATO bomb detector.
But keeping on the success of Randall's Enterprises, so what's version 1.2? M300 and or M3XX or minis?
I've somewhat talked about this previously, but for our licensing agreement, we are entirely in the enterprise space. So smaller products, the Kajito thing, you guys do all of the internet sleuthing and probing into that. They must have some sort of similar agreement, and I don't think I can go in and say, hey, I want to do that as well. I think that is theirs to do, but I think there is a product in the what is considered a consumer line that would be very interesting for us to pursue. I don't want to say it because it's
M3X and M3XX.
Different than that, but to some drone manufacturers it would be threatening. That right now this is not threatening to, so I just don't want to freak anyone out because it's not something that's happening. But there is a product in the consumer line I think would be really interesting to do. Otherwise, we're focusing on enterprise products. Now, whether we go larger, smaller, next generation, none of that's been decided 13 days in as a company. We honestly, I'm not joking. We are not in a point where we're not yet to the point where we're talking about what is going to be the next product. We are to the point of making sure that we can ship this thing, that it does what it's supposed to do. And then that will be the next conversation. It's good to theorize. It's good to hear feedback, but what is 1.2? Like, your guess is as good as mine, really.
Okay, and so keeping on 1.0, what is your criteria to go outside US?
So we have. So you maybe, I don't know if you were here when we talked about that a little bit.
I was.
Okay, we have a number of countries that are part of the agreement to work into. We know the demand or the transactions that have been completed, as well as what seems to be the demand for this product, was well beyond what I thought it was going to be. I forecasted once in November-ish, and I forecasted again in February. the forecast is out the window as far as the number of units that we will need to just supply to what the initial demand has been for the US and Canada. So the criteria for international is one, it would have to fit within the parameters of those countries that are listed in our agreement, which I don't have them off the top of my head, but I would say they're the ones that you would assume would be countries that are a part of that. And then it would be that we are beyond that we can produce beyond the need of what is demanded in the United States and Canada, because we don't want to get to the point where we make the same mistakes as every manufacturer makes, where you have big voids of supply, you have demand that's pented up, and then you no longer are supporting those that are part of your ecosystem. So when you expand to other regions, you have to set up not only the supply to those regions, but also you have to set up service centers and things like that. It just would be a lot to bite off at this stage. So that's probably 1.2 of Anzu Robotics is probably more international expansion than next product line or Ardu Pilot flashing, being realistic.
And so the support and services, somebody's going to ask that in a minute. How's that going to work? How's the servicing going to work?
So if you go on our website, in the About Us section, there is an Anzu Care section, and I beefed that up literally today to talk about kind of the terms and conditions of Anzu Care. It does talk about a little bit about the process, and it's nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering, but I'm just saying it's there. There's additional information. Yep, so go to About at the bottom. Click. Don't click About, though. Oh, you got to click the drop-down next to it, which is maybe now go to Anzu Care. Yes, sir. So if you scroll down, you're going to see brand new Randall created information under terms. That's all. That stuff was all there, but the terms are new. So it talks about a little bit about the process. Anzu Robotics is doing a lot of our work through partners, and so the repair centers that are going to be used for this are existing repair centers that exist within the drone reseller network. For the time being, we don't have any drones to repair as of day 1 or as of day 13. So that's where we're at today. And all this stuff should be very compatible or very similar to what exists already with existing products.
Gary, go back to the About Us and show everyone the graduation picture of Randall.
Oh, stop. Why are you teasing me? Louis, we don't even know each other, and you're coming after me hard today. You want to know a fun story? Is
that's pretty cruel. That's pretty cruel, Louis. That's pretty cruel. That's close to.
No, come on. He looks so young there.
That was I can tell
but he's
why.
aged in 2 weeks.
That was day 2 of Autel. So things have weathered me significantly since 2021.
Yeah, very good. Let's see. I know there's no more comments come up since I've gone for that little thing. It's quite the thing. And so have you sold your first run then, if you don't mind me asking that question?
First run? Well, yes. Transacted from Anzu to our master distributors, yes. But then it goes from master distributors to the reseller network, and the reseller network I can't imagine have sold through everything, but it's not going to be long. We have another large number of drones that are going to be received in, let's say, 6 weeks or so. But it was I can't express to you in a very relatable way the type of numbers of inbound that I'm dealing with. As a manufacturer, as working for FLIR, DJI, and Autel, I have not seen or could not have fathomed the amount of interest that is coming from all across the board as far as the user base. And these are not just like looky-loos trying to get information. These are sales people, transactions that have happened with organizations that are often challenged by country of origin stuff, that are public safety, utility facing, you name it, we're covering it. And so there's a lot there's a lot to be learned when you take world-leading technology and manufacture in a different way, and how true the bias or the hesitance to go deeper into DJI fleets really is. And I think I'm seeing that firsthand, that there's a lot of folks that were just looking for this solution. And so I'm hoping I can navigate it the right way by not getting overly distracted by shiny things, but just sticking to the vision.
I've just realised something that's important that I should do for the podcast version of this. Mitchell Roberts, I should read out the questions because it's meaningless on the podcast.
I keep leaning into it, trying to read it myself.
I'm so professional. Do you intend to disclose the primary investment parties and the amount of the investments, or do you intend to remain a private company? Obviously, it's early, but your intentions are important to me.
Yeah, so I responded to this question in the Q&A that I sent out after the webinar, and that Q&A also exists in our blog section of the AnzuRobotics.com. And this question about investment, where the money came from, it doesn't talk about the transaction amount. To be honest, I don't think that's really anyone's business. I think that that's just a private matter, and if it's shared, that's probably not
Absolutely
material to anybody. As far as the who, I've also mentioned this, that there's 4 owners of Anzu Robotics. All of us are American citizens, and if it matters, American-born citizen. I'm probably the furthest away, where I'm a first-generation American, but all the others probably have long histories of American lineage, for those who care about that. So it's not like American citizens, but it's like they just barely got their green card or something like that. This is not, there's no smoke and mirrors. There's nothing weird about the ownership stuff. But these are people that are somewhat prominent in the drone space. At least two of the 3 are quite prominent in the drone space. They have their own businesses to run, and it would be their day-to-day involvement in fielding questions about this stuff would be a distraction from their business that's putting food on their table and all of those things. So when it was decided I was going to be the face of this, it was decided that it's a privately held company. I don't think we're going to go public anytime soon. We haven't taken VC funding, and we've done it so that we can do this the way that we want to do it. And for them to want to maintain their privacy so they can run their businesses, not only not being having to respond to inbound themselves, but also just so that there's no weird rumor mill about the connections of their existing business with the connections of this. It makes sense to me, and that's really all I could say about the investment team. Is they're folks that had the financial means to do this, and it doesn't add any additional security threat. And if you're talking about intentions, I am like the intention guy. I will tell you exactly what our intentions are, as I have been the whole time, which is fill a gap, provide people what they've been asking for, not be anything that we're not make any promises we can't keep. That is our intention.
That's a good value of Type. I think Type's in Germany. I've forgotten, but that's an interesting thing. Type Wolf saying finally DJI's got their green light here again, at least for firefighters and rescue services.
Wow.
I think that's Germany. I think, but correct me, please. Type. You're somewhere there. Sorry, it's rude of me not to remember. So yeah, that's time will tell. I thought. Sorry, after you, Bruce.
No, it was me.
Louis, sorry.
Randall, what's your turnaround time to refill the distributor's pipeline? Do you have 6 months, 30 days?
So in 6 weeks from now, I would think that we have stock to last us for a long time. So
I hope it's a short time.
What is a short time, or what?
No, you have in 6 weeks. You'll have again another big order to fulfill. Correct. I want you to have continuous orders.
So we are not restricted by manufacturing very, very much. I mean, when you have units in the thousands and you're placing those POs, I mean, it is in the millions of dollars that's transacted for them to hold until you sell that inventory. So you still need to be measured as a business, but I would say that right now, not on the financial side nor the manufacturing side are we constrained. So
you're around these 6 weeks.
Yeah, more or less. I would say that it's could be between 6 and 8 weeks, depending on any given set of circumstances.
And only US, Canada market.
For as of April 30th, yes, it could change, but it is in when we talk about intention, my intention is to serve every one of the countries we are able to serve within the agreement. And if there's a country that's not on that agreement, to ask the questions, why wouldn't you let us serve this country? If there's a demand for Anzu Robotics technology, it's because they can't buy DJI technology. That's period. If you could buy DJI, I'm saying this to every person listening and everybody that will listen in the future, there's no reason to pay more for a green drone if you don't have to. There's no reason. So if you are in Poland, and if Poland's not on my list, I would go back to the negotiating table and say, we have customers that are looking to purchase this and they're citing these reasons. Get ahead of it, because I don't think the intention of DJI is to preclude us from participating or to set up a new Anzu Robotics in these other regions. I think it was more, these are the areas that we think could be impacted.
Once you are within one EU country, you are essentially in fact all of them.
Right.
So
knowing how stupid politicians are, how have you mitigated the risk of them turning around and saying, it looks like a DJI drone, therefore we're going to ban it anyway?
I mean, I think legislation takes long, and if that's all it would take to rewrite that in legislation, is it if it's sourced from a country of concern and or looks like a product from a country of concern, that would be very strange. I think there could be unintended consequences with some of the favorites of the US and other governments when it comes to drone manufacturing if they put in weird language like that. So all of this was a roll of the dice to see if we could get this far. Did we check off every box for every person? I know Kevin Finister is in the audience. Did I check all of his boxes? Not even close. I'm going to try. I'm going to keep being open. I'm going to keep trying to progress and get to the point where everyone is happy. But at the same time, as of today, like I said, there are organizations, both private and public agencies or law enforcement agencies and the like, that are adopting this with just what is already out there. So
Mitchell's mentioning the NDAA. Well, while you're running, it's sort of the same thing. It's not covered by NDAA, I think.
If you can only procure NDAA compliant systems, you're already restricted. Yeah, correct. If you can only purchase NDAA compliant system, as of today, Anzu Robotics stuff is not NDAA compliant. Could we get there with the existing platform? Possibly. Are there exemptions that exist today for NDAA compliant drones being procured? Yes, for sure. But this is phase one, and if I can only satisfy a small slice of the overall demand pie for something like this, and the rest is R2 pilot capabilities, NDAA compliance, blue, green, pink in color, there's going to be evolutions of this company. And the cool thing is that me saying that, I know I'm kind of at the helm of that evolution, but I'm also trying to make good business decisions, make good decisions for the industry. And if I got focused on the wrong things, if I tried to be NDAA compliant, you probably wouldn't see a drone for another 1.5 to 2 years, because that's what it would likely take to change out all of that engineering work. So I brought something to market that I think satisfied a good number of the concerns, and as those concerns evolve, so will we.
Mitchell makes a really excellent point there, that most will be on board with your business model, provided you're honest and transparent. Too many years of snake oil has made many skeptical, and that is the bottom line across a lot of stuff. Important. That's the bottom line.
The most important thing for me as the head of this organization is that I know the technology is good. It's not like you receive this product and you're going to say that flies terribly. The imagery I captured on it is grainy or is not going to suit my organization's needs. If you don't know if it's going to work, go look at the 100,000 units that it's based off of and tell me whether those work. I mean, I know the quality of the product, and it's not me. It's hundreds of millions of dollars in 10 years or more of R&D work that I just happen to inherit. So I'm trying to be honest and transparent about the process, about the ways that we're thinking about things and who we're trying to serve. And I don't think that, I mean, it's also difficult being me in thinking that you're addressing concerns by saying, look, here's who the ownership group is, but I don't want to talk about them, or I'm not going to talk about them, and what kind of concerns those bring up. And I think for some people are like, it's good enough for me. Like if the FBI wanted to look into Anzu Robotics, they'll find out who the ownership group is and they'll go, oh, interesting. There are, guys named John, Stephen, Mike, and they were born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Like it's not going to be a concern for anyone that needs to go into that. But if it's off-putting that there are certain things that it's like, I don't have RD pilot capabilities and I don't have NDA compliance, and it's like, I'm honestly trying my best to serve the people that accept me for who I am and accept my company for what it is and accept my product for what it is. We can change, we can evolve as human beings and as a company, but I did not start Anzu Robotics and say I have the solution for everybody, because I don't.
I've just thought of a question. Would your license agreement prohibit you in future from introducing other drones that were nothing to do with the DJI background, doing one from scratch?
We have a blueprint for taking technology that is part of this country of concern, country of origin concern situation, and put it through this process. We could be manufacturing ground robots, VTOLs that obviously are not part of that stack. We could choose other quads and things that are competitive. We could do anything. There's nothing precluding us from expanding as a company in any direction.
I just thought that's another option. You could do like 3D Robotics did, which is make something around RG Pilot, but you make it so it's got the kind of DJI feel. You make it friendlier, and that's that from a technological viewpoint, from getting the software developers and so on to do it. Well, that's pretty straightforward.
If I would have known,
I think that's it.
Oh, go ahead.
Go on after you. Well, I was just going to say, I think it's sorry. I was just going to keep doing this after you. I think but it's not the market, is it? I mean, as much as I would love a DJI thing that I could run different software in just for my nerdiness. But it's not the market. The
other thing I'm thinking of, Gary, with this was it being in parallel of doing if you'd established the brand on the basis that you're doing. You're providing kind of DJI functionality without the concerns that go along with that. And that went very well. That would then open up the door for you to think, actually, I could be building a drone. You could have you could speak to Philip Rouse, you could speak to Gremsy, and you could actually put a product together and you can have it on RG Pilot. And those same kind of customers that have bought the Anzu stuff will be the same kind of customers that will be completely receptive to that. That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah. So Chris Anderson, 3DR, Chris Anderson and I have been close for a long time. We don't talk as much these days, but I think I learned a lot from being a drone manufacturer, from the 3DR rise and fall and the Forbes article. And, being a manufacturer of drones is very hard. And I feel like the shortcut that other drone manufacturers have taken are almost purely legislative in nature. They just said, look, we'll just ban them. We'll ban the competition. Then we build a market because we can't catch up technologically. I don't know if I want to build my own drones. I don't know if I want to formulate an engineering team, which I think I could probably do a pretty good job just with like when you're funded and you have magnetism to a brand, you could potentially put together a pretty strong team. But I don't know if I have those kind of novel ideas. What I do know is go to market, and I do have, connections within the space, but I don't know if the dream is ever to be like end to end, we manufactured our own drone.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I was thinking was, I wouldn't dwell too much on the way 3DR because there were various issues there apart from for exporting, for example, there were significant problems around that, which you wouldn't necessarily have. I was thinking, for example, you could speak to Philip Rouse at Hex. It's in Taiwan. You avoid all those problems that 3DR had. Plus, you're effectively speaking to the engineer that was behind the good stuff that was in the Solo. So, and you know, they've got the radio links and all the other stuff that's equivalent to DJI. So that would be my thought going. You know, if I was ever, you know, running a drone company and trying to navigate this issue, you know, that would be something at least would be in the back of my head of thinking about. You know, if someone actually got, you know, AutoPilot, well, it's now Q-Pilot gear, and you know, you got something Grem Zero equivalent. You know, you did, because the way the AutoPilot my issue has always been, and it is improving now, is around gimbals. But you know, you package something together, you get it compact enough, and the compactness is less of an issue when you're talking about the kind of people you're after, where it's like these, you know, security services and so on. They don't need something at 2.4G, but yeah,
Ian,
I do think it's something that should be in the back of the mind for future anyway.
Ian, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to say it because I'm going to ask you this question because I come on, lay on the SUAS barbecue, and let you guys grill me as much as you would like. You said something that I think is really interesting, and I would challenge everybody that's in here to think about the same thing. If I were to start a drone manufacturing business to try to solve a problem that exists within the drone space, something that someone else isn't doing, that there just isn't a market for, we can talk about capabilities, we could talk about data security, we could talk about pricing, we could talk about size or compactness, stability, we could talk about all the gambit of things that matter in the drone space. I wonder, Ian, if you were me, in the same places I've been over the last 10 years, in the same conversations I've been in the last 10 years, with the same sensitivities that I've seen over the last 10 years, if you would have made a very different drone company than I have. Meaning, if you had an opportunity with the largest manufacturer of drones in the world, they're saying, hey, we can make this happen to where you license our technology, and no, you don't have source code. No, you aren't flashing it with AutoPilot, which is, I should have studied up on AutoPilot much more than I did coming into this conversation, because it's been a key.
I didn't jump on you on AutoPilot. Okay?
No, I'm not. It's not a problem. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how to answer those questions.
No,
what I'm getting at is, if you were all in my position, would you make the same thing? And what I want is to hear is the kind of commentary that's like, no, you made a mistake by choosing this color green, by calling it Anzu, by not having more source code, by not allowing an open interface. All these things are really helpful for someone who only has one perspective, but I would almost venture to say my drone company will be more successful because I know what I've built and I know the demand. And if I put out a 3DR solo replicator and built it myself, I'd maybe sell like a couple hundred units, maybe 1,000 units in a year, and have all these nightmares and headaches and have to prove the quality. I don't have to do that. So this is the drone company I built with the network I have and the capabilities I have. And maybe there's other drone companies that should be built to fill the same need, the same gap. I'm not anti-competitive at all, but I'm really confident that the drone company I built is the one that, if you were my business partners, we would be celebrating how far we've already gotten.
Yeah, I mean, to address that, it wasn't in any way knocking what you've done today. I don't think you were thinking.
I'm taking an opportunity to say something that I don't get to say, but I'm not offended at all. So
I was going to say, none of that's, you know, it's just, I think what you've done to get so far and to even have the idea and to pursue it and to deal with Kevin. I know what Kevin's like to deal with. So
yeah, exactly.
Even all that, you deserve a medal for that alone. So to get that far, credit to you. Hats off. And I think that's great. And I hope you do very well from it. It was just to say, because the drone space is very complex. It's around regulation. It's very complex. They've known the fact that Brendan Schulman isn't there. It will get worse. Whatever people think of him,
big fan.
There was a lot of common sense, and I know he did a lot of work around the globe, behind the scenes, just trying to get common sense. And there's a lack of common sense when it comes to regulation, and that will persist, and it could well get worse. So there are always hurdles in future, and having a product that still, no matter what you do, ever, while it looks like a DJI, you are always going to have that behind you still. The people that you'll use it, it's going to be essentially, that's a target that's always going to be on your back. And no matter how much you hop about and jump, there'll still be people aiming for it. That's all I'm thinking of from that viewpoint. The way you actually do your own product line and you do it with, credible people in the space, that target, you tear it up, you stick it in the bin. That's no longer an issue. So it's just kind of thinking, that's all great, brilliant. But it's just one of those things to think about future. If that ever gets more complicated, if regulations are thrown at you in a way that it throws hurdles in your path, it's always worth thinking about the ways I could sidestep this. So that's just why, the RG pilot thing as well, saying be not flash it on. It's another way of kind of sidestepping those kind of issues. So it's just really thoughts off the top of my head. It wouldn't it, be good to, because the thing that's frustrating is, especially we see it here in the UK, is DJI still monopolizes the drone world. It's 90% plus, and it doesn't always do stuff the best. It packages it up.
I'm surprised you say that. The DJI's monopoly does not frustrate me and has not frustrated me in 10 years, even when I was DJI's #1 competitor for a very small period of time. DJI's monopoly is not undeserved. It's not like we don't know why we're using those tissues versus other tissues. It is because it is the best. It maybe doesn't do everything the best, but that's like expecting Usain Bolt to also be the best basketball.
I was going to say, when you say it's the best, it isn't the best. It's best maybe as hardware and as you packaging it up. But if you looked at just the software and what can I do, it isn't. RG Pilot has often been years ahead in what it does.
Steve Jobs wasn't the smartest person in the world, but Steve Jobs also was one of the most successful people in the world. It just depends on how you measure best. I mean, overall, no one should dispute that DJI has made technology that has transformed the world.
He's not looking at that. He's just saying, I'm giving you a user perspective of trying to use a drone. If I want to do certain things, DJI makes them hard, difficult, or impossible.
So the 90% that are using DJI products are saying they do what I need it to do, just maybe not for the.
Often though, people are still working around stuff and they've got gripes with it.
You will with every manufacturer. You will cover your eyes if you fly another manufacturer's drones and be like, "I'll forgive you for all your warts." DJI is the least wart-covered drone manufacturer on the planet, period, without question. And if you argue that, tell me who they are. I will research them. And I will find how they're not so successful. Is it just a go-to-market strategy? Because I'll join that company and change their world.
DJI got to where it is, and the drones now got to be reliable. Partly that was 3DR and them coming out and the Solo. And they said, you know what? We'll do a flyaway guarantee. Because RG Pilot had realized years before that actually you should be taking logs. You should be fixing these things. DJI was saying it's user error. These things are not flying away. They knew very well they were flying away. They knew very well it wasn't user error. They knew it was software. They took an entire campaign of DJI users just to put in magnetic declination. That is just one feature that should have been in the software all along. So for years, they were allowing people's hardware to crash. It didn't give a damn, and it took DJI users to jump up and down and start a campaign. So, So the point I'm getting at is DJI, in part, has got to where it is because it has seen that the Solo changed it around. Up to that point, they didn't have redundant sensors.
When did 3DR go under? 2017, right? 2017.
I think, but I think you've got to be careful to conflate. Hang on, Ian. Hang on. You've got to be careful to identify 3DR and the Solo as being RG Pilot in 2024. Then you've got to be very careful to think.
No, what I'm getting at is
the thing is how much.
One second, Louis. Then the principle that
with all of us
that it does now is we've now got redundancy in the hardware. We've now got software that's a lot smarter. They thought about collisions. The DJI take far more ownership now with the warranties and for replacement. But that took, that was almost like pulling teeth. And to this day, the Solo would do shots that can't be done on DJI because DJI puts annoying inconsistencies and assumptions in the API and in the software. I've been dealing with an edit this week where a shot's been messed up because he's used a smart shot, and the smart shot, even though you're using it in the UK, uses an American frame rate, and it's like, can you change it to British? No, he can't. The European standard's bigger than the American one, globally, the PAL standard, the 50 frames, and yet he's doing it in 60 and 30 and so on like that. There's this kind of arrogance that it needs a bit of competitor there. And if someone had a product that did that instead, I'd go to that instead any day.
And I think that is well understood. Your passion is beyond, but manufacturers build for the people that don't complain about their one-size-fits-all, and they just deal with the little bit of trouble that they're having. And if they have a better thing to use, they're like, I can't be everything to everyone. It's all a matter of a business model to say, do we do this thing or not? DJI probably at one point was like, our best bet is to not change course, and then they changed course. But the initial conversation was, today DJI makes the best drones on the planet. It wasn't DJI still doesn't have a ways to go. For sure they do. Everything can improve. But
Randall, the question for you is, what would be the success conditions to have local assembly / manufacturing under your contract?
In the United States?
Or Europe? Or...
You're saying what would I have to do to move manufacturing out of Malaysia and do it somewhere else?
Yeah.
I would need someone to tell me what's the difference between Malaysia and Mexico and Germany, because right now, the customers that are coming out of the woodwork and saying this is good enough for me to not move that manufacturing. Now, if there happens to be
the blue thing, not even the blue stamp.
Those kind of questions are interesting because I could answer it in a less astute way, which is, I'm not trying to chase that. There's no reason. There is literally in 2024 at the end of April, no reason for me to move manufacturing anywhere. Because I am serving.
I didn't ask now. I ask. What would be needed for you to bring the manufacturing home?
It would be that this project didn't work because of where the country of origin is, and right now that doesn't even seem feasible. There's no real. I mean, someone's brought up like Malaysia hasn't signed some ASEAN pact thing. I don't know anything about that, but it is not precluding me from importing. It is not precluding me from selling. It is not precluding me from manufacturing. So there's no reason. So if geopolitics, which is likely what that would be, it would take geopolitics, period. And that's the unfortunate truth for everybody here that does not have the ear of their lawmakers directly, that geopolitics of ill-informed or uninformed lawmakers on drone technology could change everything we're doing. And so let's talk about something that could happen that would be nonsense. Some lawmaker hears that ArduPilot is finding a way to back channel stealing data, and you are like, no, not my ArduPilot. It's like, sorry, Charlie, we found ways. We are concerned about data security flying ArduPilot. And you're like, bullshit. I've been flying this stuff forever. There's no way. And they're like, nope, there's a way. Sorry. That is what happened over a period of time with the drones that we've been talking about this whole time. It is not founded in reality. Now, Kevin has his stuff that he shows, and I can't validate any of that. I don't know the conversations that were had. What I do know is that it is geopolitics of uninformed or ill-informed people, generally through lobbyists that have direct interest in the fight, that are keeping us from doing what we should be able to choose for ourselves as human beings. And so geopolitics, the answer to you, Louis, is geopolitics.
It's also an easy win, isn't it? Go on.
Sorry. commercially, nothing stops you
No.
if there is another assembly plant in another okay country.
It's a complexity that I don't think I would take on for no business reason. I would need to have a reason, and if that reason made sense, then I mean, and 10 years in the space, 5 different drone manufacturers, I know what a real reason is versus a promise of a reason. If there were a
cost
real
penalty.
reason that
It costs a lot more, wouldn't it, to do it in the USA than
there's no reason to do that. That is if I'm Skydio, I don't manufacture in Redwood City, California. That doesn't make sense. If I need to manufacture in the US, I manufacture in like Kansas or a low-cost place that would fund a bunch of stuff for manufacturing. I don't choose the most expensive place just because my engineers are close by. I make different decisions, but those are Randall decisions that I live and die by. Manufacturing in a European country, manufacturing in Mexico, like I ask myself, why would I do that? Further away from supply chain, higher cost of labor, doesn't give me any benefits whatsoever. No, I'm not moving manufacturing. That would be my thinking.
No commercial, no business savvy reasons to move it. Only political constraints.
And it would mostly, to your question, it wouldn't be like, can I have an additional this much if I manufactured somewhere else? It would be, am I losing what I've already built? If it goes, Malaysia's no longer okay, then yes. But if it's like, move it to Mexico and you're going to add 50%, no. Like that would be so much complexity. And this is not a greed move. If I move this many units or this many units, I'm happy either way. I'm serving the customers that I set out to serve, and I'm not adding complexities that are not part of who I am. And so that's one really, Kevin asked me, say DJI. Randall, just say DJI. Get in one of these things and say DJI. Say DJI licensed you technology. And I was like, yeah, maybe. But I didn't want to be known as the guy that is also DJI. I wanted to be Anzu Robotics. We have our own products. You can purchase them. Naturally, the conversation goes to talk about DJI, but I didn't want to say it just because somebody was pressuring me to say it. There's nothing material. It did not change a single buyer's mind, or if it did, it was inconsequential to me by saying DJI or not saying DJI the last time we spoke and saying licensing company. Didn't change anything. So what I'm leaving you with on this topic is, at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't like what I'm doing, it's because this is Anzu Robotics Randall version. And if Ian wants to start his business of ArduPilot, manufacturing a drone and sourcing the money and figuring that out, like that's Ian's dream. This is my dream of how I would build a drone company. And this is how I would serve customers. And this is how I would come on SUAS News and talk transparently and chop it up and talk about the industry and admit I don't know everything. And that's just the way I do business.
It's not my dream. It's just my way of getting the target off your T-shirt on the back that people will keep pinging forever.
The target's fine. I don't mind the target, honestly. The target, people associating me with DJI is a compliment in my mind. And maybe I'm warped, but their technology is really good. If it's about the geopolitical concerns, I'm addressing
it's exactly what it's about. It's about, that's what I said, it's regulation. There is no common sense. There's no common sense around the world. And Brendan was one of the few people that got bits here and there. But without him now there, I really don't see anyone that steps up. In fact, the problem was, the irony is for all people criticize DJI, they were the only people ever putting money in and time and effort to deal with regulators. You know, if a regulator put out something that was nonsense, they'd be the one that was doing the press release and getting it out there. You know, 3Ds of the world did nothing. Your GoPros of the world did nothing. I don't see, you know, even like with Amazon, with the money they've got and the fact they're doing deliveries, I never see them tackling negative press or anything. So, you know, DJI, for all the criticism, and Brendan, for all the criticism he's got, did get out there and actually try and chip up. You know, basically, they would try and deflect some of that. And without that in the world, you know what it's like. All it would take is one incident somewhere with a drone. You see what happened with Gatwick. You know, the problem wasn't even a drone there, and it's gone on for all these years and all that damage that it does to this day. And all you need is another incident and the press making a thing of it. And again, it makes everyone's lives hard. And they just, So for that reason, any target you've got on you, if you know anything you could do to to minimise that or mitigate it. There's no harm, but it's just that viewpoint.
I'm the one supposed to do all the roasting, but
go on, you roast
Ian's
now.
going. I think Randall's done a great job. He's ticked all the boxes. He's done his homework. He's lined up all his ducks in a row. He's done everything that I would do in his position. I think he's nailed it.
Yeah.
Why do you gotta be so nice? I don't come in here expecting compliments and stuff.
No. Come on. I told this to Gary privately. You are the compliment because you cracked a business way to bring drones in a way. And yes, they are top of the line. They might not do whatever we want when the sun is at 5 degrees and the moon at 25. Yeah, okay. I don't care. They fly generally well. They have very little issues considering the quantity they put out. And you cracked a business model that satisfies lots of people. And the only criticism I might have, but I understand, is that you're not coming to EU. So that's...
let me say it again. My intention, my
No. Hey, not coming to Europe now, at this moment, 30th of April.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the solo. He's got his solo out.
That's a good critique.
It's something that, I wouldn't say it was a misstep because I don't think I could have taken on all markets at once, but I understand. And I think that as an identity of a company, we are not a US-centric company. Both of my parents are Europeans. I am a son of immigrants to this country. I have spent a lot of time supporting drone stuff in Europe, especially in the UK. So it's not something I'm diverting away from other than business.
Randall, don't take me wrong. You took a good business decision. Focus on one market, see how it goes, and then go out. And now it's absolutely understandable, the business decisions. So I don't think that's what Gatwick again. Oh God, no.
Well, I wanted to. Sparky wanted, and I'm not. Look, I'm conscious of the time. We've been going for an hour and 21.
I'll bring a 3DR solo.
There's a 3DR solo, and Sparky WS.
3DR solo.
The green. Oh no!
Welcome to the computer museum or the drone museum show.
The drone museum. This one's a museum. This one's a nice museum one. But look, Ian, with the freedom of information requests and Sparkways mentioned in Gatwick, there's what the RAF charged. Do you want to unpack that, Ian? I find it's quite extraordinary. So the RAF sent a unit, and they had the best counter drone gear money can buy, and this is what they charged them. You go for it, Ian. Yeah. Tell us how you got here.
So this is a funny one. This is a freedom of information request that's taken 2.25 years to be answered, and it's only been answered because the Information Commissioner had noticed that the Ministry of Defence wasn't answering freedom of information requests. And they've got a kick up the backside. So they sent me an email, probably even again several months ago, and said, "Are you sure you wanting this one answered that's been there for ages?" I went, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, please." So anyway, they have answered it. So the RAF were very nice to Sussex Police, and I don't think they've charged them for the staffing, but this is what they basically charged them £1,161 for their involvement at Gatwick. So I suspect this personal joint administration claims is probably people sandwiches or something. There's obviously shifting some of the gear about, 111 quid, and then we've got 910 for the equipment lease. So that must be the cost of Falcon Shield from Leonardo being deployed. So that's a counter drone system. So yeah, I think we should all sort of rent it out for the weekend. That kind of money, 910 quid.
Yeah, no, it's quite amazing. Oh, evening, Mac. He's just arrived. We're just finishing, Mac. His clocks have changed. That is quite staggering. That's all it costs.
At that price, you could afford to have them at all the airports 24/7.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this in a minute as well. A quick review.
All right. I'll stop sharing. But that's if Randall, and for those that are watching for this time, if you don't know Ian, he just pokes and pokes and pokes and pokes and pokes at a story, and we really are. We are getting to the nitty-gritty of this Gatwick story, and we'll need facts to prove that nothing happened. And remember, the RAF said, no, there's nothing here. And Gatwick ignored them. But maybe it's because they only spent £1,000 on it. I don't know. All right, let's stop sharing this. Go on, mate.
No one watching the stream today would think for a moment that Ian was like a dog with a bone, would they? Would they? Really?
No, not in any way.
Anyway, this is DJI, and it's good we're talking about them and saying all the products are perfect. Now they can market stuff as being perfect, but the reality is often different. And this is a good example. So this is the DJI Focus Pro, given rave reviews by all the people they gave them to free of charge. Well, what a surprise there! Huh? So these have all been on the reviews on YouTube saying how good it is. So I've used this properly in anger. This was used for over 12 hours flat. So I found out then the batteries only last 2.5 hours. So I had to have 3 batteries. I charge it there, continually cycling the recharging of this. That's your LiDAR on the front. I've had to modify this. It doesn't come like this where it will actually work properly. It actually comes with a cold shoe mount to go on the camera there, which is actually not to the end of the lenses that you'll get. So you basically you end up with a LiDAR that's sat behind the lens. So your lens is partially obscuring it. And it's just not the best place. So one of the retailers, CVP, even when they were reviewing it, had done a 3D mount to put it on. And I would say listen to CVP's reviews, because what I've learned is read between the lines. They will tell you something's got problems without saying it clearly. So I wish I'd listened a bit more to their review, because they were the only ones that hinted that it wasn't that great. So basically all your reviews will show you this, and it's locking on everyone every time and 2 people. In reality, using this, it would go on one person, flick to the next person. If you had a crowd of people, it would randomly go between them. You fix on one person, and it would just go off them to the next person for no reason and back. It's supposed to.
They might be more attractive. I mean, that might be its intelligence saying, "Oh, I know you don't want a picture of that ugly. Oh, that young lady over there is particularly easy on the eye. Let's take a photo of her."
I don't give you permission to film me. I don't give you permission to film me.
And what else did we get? Oh, yes, it's supposed to detect vehicles as well. So, like at one point, there was a lorry, and it said to that, and I thought, well, that's not bad. It's only supposed to get. Well, I only thought it'd get cars, and it got it, and I was like, great. It moved 2 meters, and it completely lost the lock. It's not like it's, and that's literally just rolling. So it's not even moving at speed. So yeah, most of this time I had to go to manual. They don't give you a proper focus wheel. You just get this really cruddy finger focus wheel. So anyone that's used a proper manual follow focus will know you know the normal around. You've got tactile, although you've got a bit, you just don't have the detail there. So you can't nail manual focus when it does go wrong, which is, like I say, often. So yeah, it was a real headache, and it only allows you to set 2 points for your lenses. So it tends to get your focus right with things close up. Some on the day, you're like 2 meters away, it'll probably behave most of the time. Any further and it starts misbehaving, and it won't nail the focus right. So yeah, that's like, and Bruce saw my
I have to go pick up my daughter in 2 minutes from school.
Okay.
Randall, good to see you, mate.
Randall, thank you very much. Thank you for your honesty and all that sort of a thing. Thanks, yes. Randall. Look after yourself. We'll catch up again.
We still had 120 seconds if you want to say anything longer than that, but I will say thank you.
Don't tempt Ian; he'll be off again.
Thank you for being welcoming and hearing my perspective of all this stuff. And I know there's a ways to go, but one day we'll be in Europe, and I'll have a drone ambassador in our pal Louis for.
No. Hey, this was green, and I got some gray paint, so now it's gray again.
Perfect. If only it were a matter of spray painting these drones, I would have probably slept more over the last year or so. But
absolutely.
Good talking to you guys. I would not. I didn't know how long we were going, and kids are kids. So
too long.
Yeah. Very good talking to you. We'll talk again soon. Bye. Thank you.
Okay, mate.
Cheers,
Bye.
Randall. Bye. Thank you very much.
And I'll quickly finish off my rant review on this.
Don't lie, Ian. Stop
Oh,
telling lies. We know you lie.
Quickly, use the word quickly, didn't he?
Let
He
me
lives
tell
in
you
a different
the best
universe. It's a quantum world.
This had Bruce laughing on Twitter. When I bought this, you get two kits. You get the normal kit and you get the all-in-one kit. Now notice that words all-in-one, and you get a second controller, and they don't include the battery and they don't include the charger for it.
You need the fly more pack. They give you 3 batteries.
Yeah. So that's double. With drones, you do get the fly bar and you get the batteries. And then with the camera gear, it's like, And then it turns out the reviewers were given a battery with the gear, so never even knew that it didn't come with one. So that's how.
Never trust DJI reviews. I still regret buying this. Even though, it's fantastic. No, it's not. It's for the price. It's crap.
There's the Solo.
Ian,
What are you going to tell us about the Solo, Louis?
No, if you're feeling regrets for this, hey, just give me your address.
I'm already sending mine on to Ian, the other Ian on here, because he likes his Argipilot stuff I'm playing about with it. So mine's due on the way over there. But I am keeping one to convert it into a light, just as a feature
As
on
a
the
novelty. Well, surely we can 3D print some bodies to do stuff like that, and it is important to remember. And DJI, I know they are the number one now, but when the Solo came out, the Phantom wasn't quite there, and DJI did clever things. They did clever things that tramped all over the Solo. But the Solo and the Phantom.
When the Solo was out, it was ahead of DJI. They undercut it on price and killed it. That's how they did it.
That I was trying to be nice, saying they did clever things, and you just went straight for the undercut. You're right, though, but yeah.
I mean, I'd like to know if the rumor's true, because it was there that said that Frank Wang turned up and offered to just buy them outright. And so presumably Chris Anderson said no, but I'd like to know if that's genuinely true.
That's exactly the same as in some ways as GoPro telling DJI to do one because they're never going to be successful. It's that time, it's that avarice. And then DJI said, "Well, tell you what, we'll make our own action cam stuff for you," because people forget that in the Phantom one, you just screwed your GoPro to the machine as did all the others. Yeah, there was some interesting times, and that's really when America lost the race, as it were, and people started adopting DJI, and you couldn't blame them. DJI priced it correctly, and they got better and better and better. You can't blame it. But now all this fuss is coming home to roost now, and people are wondering why there's no US drone industry. Well, that's why.
Yeah. The interesting thing there is as well, I think this is obviously you've seen there with the Focus Pro. DJI is going heavily into lots of other markets around the video, and I think that may well be to shield themselves. So if there is a drone ban, that they've got their fingers in so many other pies, because it's not just they're now doing. They've got like a partnership with Lumix, Panasonic. They're on the L-mount alliance, and they've been there for a while. But they're doing a lot more integrations with their stuff.
Well, look at the cars. And the cars is where this is probably the factory in Malaysia. It's probably a shed out the back is of the auto parts and car factory is where these drones is being built. Perhaps should have asked him that while I was here. Oops. Oops. All right, look, we've been going an hour and 33 minutes. That is definitely enough. These poor people that have stuck with us. No. It's not.
Important things need to be discussed. Yes.
All right. You tell me the next important thing.
You know what they say? The weight of paperwork must exceed the weight of the craft in aviation. Did you see that EASA put out their easy access rules?
I did.
If you print that out, it is this thick, 460 something pages. That's easy access. Has bureaucracy gone mad when they called that easy? And it's for craft that weigh possibly 250 grams. It's like it's unbelievable how crazy the world's become.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we saw the Russian equivalent of an A-10. Has it come off? I can't remember what it. No, that's a helicopter. I can't remember what the Frogfoot. That's turning right, and the DJI drone pops into view and narrowly misses it, as they say. So that was an interesting bit of footage. That was
there an AirPods report for that? Like the one at 15,000 feet that we got this week?
That's that one. I love
that one. Footage, they said.
Well, precisely. Oh, now I'm getting on a high horse again. But precisely that one. I don't think we're going to get foyers out of the RAF. But now that Ian has got a foyer out of the RAF, I'd really like if that helmet camera
you've got a chance now. They're under the microscope from the ICO, so I would give that a go. In fact, I think, Gary, you're done for a while. You should do that one.
Yeah. But I don't think they will, because it'll be a very big state secret. But if the F-35 helmet camera is misidentifying a bug at 14,000 feet as a drone, then there's bigger problems than a Phantom being at 14.
I'd ask for just one frame and then say, just redact any telemetry on there, and let's just see.
They'll just get the CAA to Photoshop it for them.
Yes, exactly. Don't pass the airliner window. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that air taxi crash was pretty good too, wasn't it? That was on Twitter.
That was spectacular. And of course, not Lilium. The other one has a volocopter. They're not being further funded by their regional government, and people are saying Europe's not being fair. And they should be funding these modern new things. And it's the way of the future. It's like, no, they've spotted it. And there is talk of Lilium also being in trouble. Lilium and volocopter both be in trouble.
EHang is the future, mate. They're the only ones who've got all the certifications, and they rip her on ahead. It'll be like the Great Wall of China utility vehicles that folded up into a little pile of scrap when they hit a wall. Never passed any of the ANCAP tests. But
But we get lots of cars like that here. Go on, mate.
We were saved, though. Drone Safety Day has changed the face of the hobby forever.
I felt better. I felt a weight off my shoulders on Drone Safety Day. God, what a load of baloney. None of us want Drone Unsafe Day, do we? So
no, but they should be focusing on their airports, eh? Did you see the Blanco video? And sooner, he's right. It's going to be a disaster, and no one seems to be doing anything. What's going on?
Yeah, are you particularly talking about the runway one or a new one that I've not seen?
There's been so many runway problems since the beginning of the year. It's not just one or two. It's almost every week there is a major incident, runway aircraft conflicts at airports, and it's only luck so far that has probably saved people's lives. But no, we've got to focus on Drone Safety Day.
Well, my head's been more and more thinking we don't belong in that world of regulation. We absolutely don't belong in that world of regulation, and a more appropriate regulator needs to be appointed that is making sure people aren't misbehaving. But
we don't regulate radio control model cars as if they're trucks on the highway, do we?
No, exactly.
And the same with model boats. They're not regulated like a boat on the on the ocean going waves. It's why is it suddenly that drones are different? Just have that vertical delineation and away you go.
So it's not doing us any favors, which we all know. I know that's a given, and we all know that. But it is also going to be a huge anchor on unleashing the potential. And huge amount. You shall not fly unless the weight of paperwork exceeds the weight of the aircraft. Yeah, huge weight of stuff. But it's going in.
A question on the EASA thing, then, Bruce. Are you reading all those pages and going to do a video out of it to tell everyone what it says? I'm having to read it.
I'm going to condense it down into two rules: don't endanger other people, don't endanger other people's property. That's all advisory crap. It's good to know, but the only two rules you need. If they don't realise that, there's no hope.
Well, that's the whole thing of common sense coming back into play, isn't it? It's
a trait of bureaucracy, isn't it? Your performance is measured by the pile of papers on your desk and the number of words you've typed into word processor today. You know, there's no actual practical measurements because none of this has improved safety because we still don't have any deaths as a result of recreational multi-rotor drone use. So all this stuff and all registration and all the licensing and all that crap, it's done nothing. It's done absolutely nothing except cost people a lot of money and slow the progression of the industry.
Don't flow. Yeah, it's just we're being held back. But I think on that note, we're being held back.
Just before you try that on that.
Yeah,
no, he's got some. Just half an hour. Come on, just half an hour.
A little point from today, which I know Bruce has commented on as well. Just Eat did their figures for the UK and said that they, their model has added 3.5 billion to the UK economy. I just thought it was interesting that because it says, financially that there is the market there for the drone delivery. If they get, if you get it reliable and you get it safe, there's definitely the money there. So I just thought
it can be reliable and safe, but they're still going to make a profit out of it. They're still going to make a profit. It doesn't matter if it's reliable or safe. It has to be profitable as well, and that's the sticking point. I think.
Those figures speak for themselves. 3.5 billion. There is a profit there to be made.
Who's made $3.5 billion profit? There may be that much money's been poured into the industry, but where's the returns?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here. It's saying they've put it's basically it's created 3.5. They're not saying this is their profit. 3.5 billion into the UK economy, which is going on about all the jobs around it. So
jobs created, but all startups create jobs and everything. But unless they give a payback to the investors, they're gone. It's just a transient use of the money. Until it's a viable business model, which at the moment, even with our friend in Ireland claiming that he's making money, that may be so, but Wing isn't charging for deliveries. Amazon shut down its California trials. Nobody's, apart from perhaps Zipline, is actually doing this for real.
Comparing Amazon in a minute because they don't want to do those little packages like that, the burgers and the whatnot. But yeah, I still think if there was one use case that was going to nail it and be the one that succeeds, even if it's only in patches here and there, I do think it will be the takeaway delivery because people will pay for them and they will. And as you see already when they post the videos, people are genuinely excited seeing it come down. There is definitely
for the first few times
value, and that alone will keep it going for.
We get excited when the Uber driver pulls up with the fish and chips, mate.
Well,
that's how we started, wouldn't it?
When the Uber driver turns up and he hasn't eaten your onion rings, that's the only time.
Always put more extra onion rings in for the driver.
And where I sit, I've got to say, what's an Uber driver? It's always you're talking about first world ultra convenience for super. What's that film, WALL-E? You're moving to a WALL-E world.
I think you should come back to the UK, Gary. I don't know how you're surviving out there. I really don't. This electricity.
Do you know why I went out? Just then because it's so boring over there. Do you know when I went out just now this morning? I went out and there was this great big pigeon carcass just above not great big, it's a pigeon carcass, but there's a flipping serval or jennet, and we've had, we in our just a little porch and a young family of pigeons been grown up. It happened last year as well on this side of the house. And you get so big, and the bloody cats, the wild African cats, come and eat them for a snack, and all the children have watched them grow. We listen to them chirp every year, and by and large, that's at MTV. So we don't get that sort of thing back there. I don't remember that back in Blighty. All these fun things.
That's a good thing.
We get similar stuff. They stab people in the street.
Animals that can kill you is a good thing. I mean, I know you have horrible spiders.
It's not animals. It's crackheads.
It's funny enough.
The crackheads, mate.
There is a horrible spider above my head right now, sack spider. There's one just up there right now. That will really hurt you. Linked in many sports delivery apps, especially in large cities. Yeah, I know some people argue vociferously that it's going to work, and other people say it'll never work. And both come with sets of numbers. The truth has got to lie in there somewhere in between the two places somehow. There's got to be a point of there's got to be a Goldilocks city, isn't it, with the right number of people with the smallest amount of airfields to make it possible. But should it really be happening? I don't know. And I think those rolling rover robots are beginning to roll out, pun intended, I suppose, everywhere in the world now. Those are more
We just need
option.
We need Elon Musk on it. He could put those pneumatic tubes from every house to every takeaway place, and just put the thing in the little tube and where it goes.
I think we should keep Elon Musk away from such things. If he was doing those little robots, they'd probably be crashing into fire engines.
Absolutely not pulling away. And as Clifffield says, none of it matters until Blake Seven's.
But they all got killed in the last episode. It's not coming back.
You just reboot it. And besides which, we don't know they all got killed. We just heard the shots. They might have all lived.
Yeah.
And we could have an alternate timeline. That's the trendy thing in sci-fi. Just a different timeline.
Can't we talk rubbish?
The even more worrying thing is that people watch this crap.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. We're going this time. We're going. It's late. I'm tired. We're keeping a little family going all late. So, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. That was great from Randall. I think we'll definitely have him back. And he's certainly stirring up the market over in the US. We'll see you again at 2100. No, I'm not allowed to say it, but we do have a similar Randall sort of guest coming up soon as well. Was going to be equally stirry. But anyway, till we see you again next week, 2100 Gin and Tonic. Look after yourselves. Take care, everybody.